Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown! Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
At just 24 years old, Kyrie Irving found himself at the top of the basketball world, winning an NBA championship after hitting a legacy-defining shot with the opportunity to win so much more in the future, playing next to the best player in the entire sport. But this was never enough for Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving doesn't want to be LeBron James' little brother. He doesn't want to be LeBron James' sidekick.
He wants to be the man. He doesn't want to play second fiddle.
He wants to go out on his own and mature and blossom.
He sees himself in the mold of Kobe.
And he no longer wants to play alongside LeBron James.
You know, having just a tremendously great player like that come to your team, and you see yourself being one of those great players eventually, and then he ends up joining it. And then now you have to almost take a step back and observe, but at the same point you want to keep your foot on the gas pedal. And I think that finding that balance is one of the toughest things to do.
On the 1st of July in 2014, 22-year-old Kyrie Irving signed a max contract extension with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The two-time All-Star was now going to be the face of the franchise. This was Kyrie Irving's team. But in a sudden turn of events, just 11 days later, LeBron's return to Cleveland was announced.
Kyrie had just inked a 5-year extension, had all kinds of promises from his ownership, starting with Dan Gilbert, that he was going to be the man for the next 5 years. And boom, 11 days, only 11 days later, LeBron's coming home.
11 days ago, this young star thought he had his own team, but now this was LeBron's team, and Irving would be asked to sacrifice for the greater good of becoming championship contenders as a second option. And not only did Kyrie Irving accept this role, he thrived in it. 22 points per game in the 2014 to 2015 NBA season next to James, and with LeBron James being on his team, there were a lot more eyes on Kyrie Irving now. People were beginning to realize how good this kid was.
40 points and 26 shots. He's got it again. Pretty defending. What a three! And Leonard. Kyrie, a three. Number one coming off the bench in that category. Number 3 overall. Irving. For a small to play. Try to get some other move. 51 for Kyrie Irving. Wow. Irving. Dial there. Another triple. Every chamber is filled tonight for Kyrie Irving.
Going into the defending champion's house and scoring 57 points with numerous clutch plays, Kyrie Irving was making a statement and putting the basketball world on notice. Entering the playoffs, Cleveland knew that they had a shot at something special with their 2 stars leading the way. But just 4 games into the postseason, they would be down their 3rd best player.
The Cleveland Cavaliers swept the Boston Celtics in just 4 games. But that doesn't mean Kevin Love is leaving TD Garden happy. Love left the court just a few minutes into the first quarter after getting tangled up with Kelly Olynyk. Love dislocated his left shoulder, and he blames it entirely on the Boston forward.
You know, it's just too bad that he would, go to those lengths to take somebody out of a game and do that to someone. So I have no doubt in my mind that he did that on purpose.
A dislocated shoulder would require surgery for Love, and he would miss the rest of the postseason for the Cavaliers in what they hoped would be a championship run. But Cleveland still had their top 2 guys. And despite being heavily tested by the Chicago Bulls, who took a 2-1 series lead over them to begin their second round matchup, the Cavs ultimately won 3 straight games for a push into the Eastern Conference Finals. But Kyrie played through that series on a right foot strain where it began giving him issues as early as game 2. But unfortunately, that became the least of his concern, because after game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Atlanta, Kyrie now dealt with left knee tendonitis, which would force him to miss game 2. LeBron said obviously he didn't feel like what he was going to be able to do was going to help the team. He felt like he was going to hurt the team. That's the only reason he would sit out. He felt like he was going to hurt the team. So I told him before the game, that's why we're a team. That's why it's next man up, and that's what I'm here for. I got your back, and whatever decision that you decide to make, know that we're ready for you whenever you decide to come back, whenever you're ready physically and mentally to come back. LeBron led the Cavs to a win in game 2, and when Kyrie still wasn't ready to return in game 3, LeBron led them to another win, taking a 3-0 series lead, with Kyrie set to return for game 4. He stood on his word and had his young stars back. Now the two just had to close out the series for Cleveland to make it to the NBA Finals, and they did exactly that with a blowout 30-point win. Cleveland heading back to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2007, and their opponents in the finals, the Golden State Warriors, led by the 2015 MVP Steph Curry. And Kyrie was available to play in game 1 after all his knee issues, which was a battle. James and Irving combining for 65 points through 4 quarters, including a clutch block by Kyrie Irving on the MVP that would help take this game into overtime. But in overtime, those knee issues came back to haunt Irving.
Irving falls down, hangs on, gets it to J.R. Smith.
I drove right. I tried to stop on a dime. I've done it, thousands of times, and I tried to get out of it with my knee. I tried to stop myself, and all my force was on that knee. And I believe Clay hit it, and it hit it in the right spot at the right time and fractured my kneecap. It's a tough situation to be in, especially, in the finals at the biggest stage. Dealing with injuries all throughout the playoffs is definitely tough, and it's a test to your will, but for me to go out like that, fractured kneecap out 3 to 4 months, it's tough to definitely process.
Kyrie was now out for the series with his injury, and like LeBron said to him weeks before, he would have his back. After Game 1's overtime loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers bounced back with 2 consecutive wins where LeBron dominated to lead his team to a 2-1 series lead, but they ultimately did not have enough to close this one, the Warriors winning 3 straight games to finish the series in 6.
I don't even know if it's ever happened for a team to lose 2 All-Stars and still be able to make it to the finals, and you got to be at full strength to win it. We weren't. We just wasn't.
The Cleveland Cavaliers have made it 2 games away from an NBA championship without 2 of their 3 best players, so the expectation was simple: get the guys back healthy, stay healthy, and this team is winning the championship to end Cleveland's drought. Kyrie wouldn't make his return from injury until December of the new season, where he started off slow, of course fresh off recovering from his broken kneecap injury. It was his first season since his rookie year where he didn't make the All-Star game or average 20 points per game, but all that mattered was that Cleveland was back in the playoffs, and this year as the first seed in the East with 57 wins. And they cruised through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, sweeping both the Pistons and Hawks, but more importantly, Kyrie was back to being himself again after last season's injury, averaging over 24 points per game over these 8 wins. The Toronto Raptors gave Cleveland their only scare of the postseason up to this point, but the Cavs still closed it out in 6 games to make the NBA Finals once again, both LeBron and Kyrie having themselves strong playoff runs, but the most important part was that they were healthy entering this final series, health that they would certainly need against their next opponent.
It's official, number 73. The greatest regular season in NBA history now belongs to the 2016 Golden State Warriors.
I think Steph Curry just played the greatest single season we have ever seen any NBA player have.
The Golden State Warriors were heavily favored entering this series despite Cleveland's newfound health. This Warriors team was simply playing that good, and they showed Cleveland what they were made of, winning the first 2 games of the series at Oracle Arena by a combined 48 points, the Cavaliers being completely dominated to start off this series. But they hadn't lost a game at home over this entire postseason, and with everything on the line at the Q, the Cavs took Game 3 in a 30-point blowout, LeBron and Kyrie combining for 62 points. That unbeaten home streak would not last though, the Golden State Warriors putting it into it and taking a commanding 3-1 series lead.
I know that the echo and the attitude of effort and things that we can control going into Game 5 will be at an all-time high. And next 2.5 days will be a lot of preparation, learning from our mistakes and moving on and preparing for Game 5.
Playing the 5, James drives and easily finishes. Irving, crossover, pull-up, got it. Here's Irving, steps back, Kyrie Irving. James the drive, James the finish. James fakes, James drives, James finishes. Irving gets free, banks it in, and a foul. James with 4 to shoot. He's gonna have to knock up a 3, and does.
Steve Kerr telling his team continue to move without the basketball.
Irving steps back, he tries another 3. That's good. Irving slides inside. Thompson right with him. Irving, bank shot is good, and a foul. Kyrie Irving does it again. Sensational offensive talent. Nearly falls, drives now, spins back, tough fall away shot, it's good. Irving from 3, bang!
They didn't want to see a Game 6. Well, now you have it. Mama, there goes those men.
One of the all-time great finals performances from a pair of teammates. 82 points, each with 41. And most importantly, they get the victory to set up that game back on their home floor.
What are you watching from your teammate Kyrie Irving, who essentially is going through the finals for the first time?
He's a very humble kid, very appreciative of this moment, but that was special. That was special. That will go down in the all-time greatest performances in finals history. by my point guard. He was spectacular tonight.
Without question, this was the best game that Kyrie and LeBron had ever played together. And with people questioning if things would work between the two over the last 2 years, this was a showcase of how great they truly were together.
Kyrie, the way you and LeBron match each other or mix with each other on the court has been scrutinized, whether there's redundant skills or whether you both need the ball in your hands. But when did you find like the right mix between each of you?
When we stopped caring about what everyone else said.
This duo had found their rhythm, and now it was about moving on to the next game and getting one more.
We're not satisfied. We understand the magnitude of what Game 6 means for us at home. And we know that it'll be an incredible level that they're going to play at, and we have to play at an even better level.
In Game 6, Kyrie had himself a rough shooting night with 23 points on 39% shooting, but 41 points by LeBron James, with 17 of those in the fourth quarter, would lead the Cavs to a massive win. They had come back from the 3-1 deficit to force a Game 7 to end a 50-year drought for their city. It all came down to this.
Oracle Arena is alive and roaring as we get set for Game 7. The Cavalier offense the last couple of games has been so efficient as Kyrie Irving. Curry helps out. Smith pass right through the hands of Curry. James! But Green tries another three. Draymond Green, 4 for 4 from downtown. Makes his quick move, stops underneath. Layup is good, and one. The three-point disparity is just huge. 10-1. In favor of Golden State.
Hey, listen, man, everything we got for 24 minutes, man. Everything we got.
And stolen. Here comes Irving. Irving drives past Green. The foul. Shot's good. And one. That was Barnes' second field goal. Kyrie Irving knocks down a three. Irving having a huge third quarter. Curry's got Tristan Thompson on him. Curry crossover three-pointer. It's good. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with a rejection.
And as the possessions continue, and as the time gets lower and lower, I'm like, okay, this is it. This is it right here.
Let's go! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
And 2 game-changing plays from Cleveland's 2 game-changing stars was all they needed in this closely contested battle. They had done it.
Final seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.
I tried to downplay it the whole entire season. Of the emotional kind of stress that I was putting on myself from getting hurt, not being there with my teammates, watching it on TV, and then we think about a year later. I just tried to live in it, you know, and really just enjoy it as much as possible. I'm just really thankful to be a part of history like this and to be done with the group that I have in that locker room and us making history and etching our names forever in NBA history.
With an incredible shot and an incredible series, Kyrie Irving became an NBA champion. He had recorded the most points per game ever by any teammate of LeBron James in the NBA Finals with 27, and who knows what 2015's result could have been if Kyrie didn't have unfortunate injuries. This duo simply worked, and they were special. 2 years ago, Kyrie believed that he was going to be the face of the franchise, but ultimately had to end up sacrificing that role in order to play alongside LeBron James and compete for NBA titles. A sacrifice that was all worth it, and it only took 2 seasons to claim the ultimate reward. The future for this duo was bright. LeBron still the best player in the league, and Kyrie Irving arguably the best second option in the league. They had so much more to compete for, but Kyrie wanted more. During the 2016 offseason, things changed around the league, mainly with the Warriors bringing in Kevin Durant to create the most intimidating super team we had ever seen. But things nearly changed drastically in Cleveland as well. Fresh off an NBA championship, Kyrie Irving reportedly was considering the idea of requesting a trade from the Cleveland Cavaliers. At the time, this never came out, and it wouldn't come out for the foreseeable future as Irving ultimately decided to stay put and not submit his trade request. But this alone showed that his future in Cleveland was shaky. It seemed that he and LeBron were the league's best duo when he thrived next to him when healthy during the 2016 playoffs. Why would he want out now when finding himself in what seemed to be a perfect situation? A question that would remain unanswered for now. Now hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt, but damn near 98% of y'all are watching are not subscribed to the channel. We could be at 1 million subs already, man. Y'all know it's a bunch of great videos on the channel just like this one, so hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of these. Also, y'all go follow me on IG and Twitter as well for updates on upcoming videos and everything else. It's always cool to interact with y'all on there. With the start of a new season and Kyrie Irving blooming into a big star in this league, the narrative that the LeBron and Kyrie duo could eventually have a Shaq and Kobe ending was beginning to brew. But it seemed unlikely because LeBron did not behave in the same way as Shaq, where he would antagonize his young star. It was the opposite. Cavs head coach Tyronn Lue spoke on the matter, saying they have a great relationship. LeBron has been like a big brother bringing Kyrie along. LeBron has shown him the right way. What better mentor could you have? Nobody was really concerned over LeBron in this situation. No, James is not likely to alienate Irving the way O'Neal antagonized Bryant, but do not put it past Irving to push his limits the way Bryant so forcibly did. It was no secret that Kyrie Irving was a huge fan of Kobe and was inspired by him. Just like when Kobe was with Shaq, Kyrie wanted to be the best player in the league himself. And during the 2016 to 2017 NBA season, he would have the best season of his career, averaging 25 points per game and 6 assists per game, where he actually averaged a shot and a half per game more than LeBron James did. He had become more of a focal point here in this regular season within the Cavs offense more than ever before. The dynamic between LeBron and Kyrie seemed to have grown so much, and they were about to enter another postseason run to compete for another NBA title. And this would be their most dominant run to the NBA Finals yet, only losing 1 game on their way there, winning by an average margin of 13 points per game, their only loss coming to the Boston Celtics in the conference finals. But their finals opponents were even more dominant along their run. The Warriors, now with Kevin Durant, had swept the entire Western Conference, taking down their opposition by an average margin of 16 points per game. The Cavaliers had their work cut out for them against this team, but Kyrie and LeBron were now in their 3rd consecutive NBA Finals, and ahead of Game 1, Kyrie was asked about his relationship with LeBron James.
Can you talk about your relationship with LeBron and how it's developed over the years, how that dynamic developed over the years?
You know, having just a tremendously great player like that come to your team, and you see yourself being one of those great players eventually, and then he ends up joining it. And then now you have to almost take a step back and observe, but at the same point you want to keep your foot on the gas pedal, and I think that finding that balance is one of the toughest things to do, because you have so much belief and confidence in yourself, but also one of the biggest things that makes a great player great is how selfless he is and how much is he willing to sacrifice in order to see the betterment of the team. And you know, selfishly, I always wanted to just show everyone in the whole entire world exactly who I was every single time. And I can do that with a lot of great teammates around me.
And Kyrie Irving had shown that he was a great player, showing that he was willing to sacrifice for the betterment of the team over these last 3 years.
When LeBron went there, I'm going to, teach these guys and help them learn how to win. From what I'm told, Kyrie was just a little reluctant earlier in, their relationship to accept all that. Now that he's seen, not just through the championship, but you see the success. And I'm told Kyrie is a lot more open now to, hearing what LeBron's saying in certain instances.
Irving and James played at an unbelievable level in these 2017 finals, with Kyrie Irving averaging just under 30 points per game for the series, and LeBron averaged a 33-point triple-double for the series. Against any other team, that's probably a championship, but this Golden State Warriors squad was a juggernaut that took out Cleveland in just 5 games.
That's the type of guy that I want to be with every single time I'm going to war, because I know what to expect. You stand your ground too with a leader like that. You don't want to take a step back. You move to the front line with a guy like that, and you want to bring your game up to another level. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, because I know that if we continue to be with one another and keep utilizing one another, man, the sky is the limit. So, I've learned a lot, and I will continue to, and I couldn't be more proud of that guy, man.
And there's reports coming in right now, breaking news, that Kyrie Irving doesn't want to play alongside LeBron James and wants to be traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And over the course of the last couple of years, Kyrie has talked about this, guys, as recently as a month ago, has talked about the balance that he's had to make between wanting to be selfish, wanting to be the centerpiece star, and wanting to play alongside a transcendent player and win championships. And so this is something he's gone back and forth on. He apparently has decided that he doesn't want to go the LeBron route anymore.
The line that made me jump out of my chair was, third to last paragraph, that Irving considered requesting a trade following the Cavs championship last season. So this has been festering for a while. But he said all the right things last year about sacrificing for the team. So was he just putting on a happy face when really all along he's just been ready to get out of there as soon as possible?
Here's what I think you just need to realize. His #1 idol, the man that he respects above all other than his father,
Kobe,
is Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
When the Cavs won the championship 2 years ago, or a year ago, he came back to the locker room. You know what he did? He FaceTimed Kobe from the winning locker room. So he sees himself in the mold of Kobe. And whether or not, this isn't exactly like Kobe's Shaq, but Michael, this was something that I was thinking could be a possibility down the line with Kyrie and LeBron. I'm puzzled by the timing of it, especially since we're literally 4 or 5 weeks off Kyrie talking about how he'd embraced this situation.
A month later, Kyrie Irving's wish was granted. He would be traded to the Boston Celtics and be the face of a franchise like he wanted. He would be the man, and he would be the leader of the team. He was joining a great situation in Boston with 2 former All-Stars in Gordon Hayward and Al Horford, along with young promising talents like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But would Kyrie eventually have a similar dynamic to what he had with LeBron with one of these younger developing talents? Time would tell, but this Celtics team was focused on making the NBA Finals. They were certainly built for it on paper, and they were led by Kyrie Irving. But from the very first quarter of this season, it became evident that this just wasn't the year for Boston. Gordon Hayward suffered a gruesome leg injury that took him out for the season, and later that year, Kyrie Irving had to get a season-ending knee surgery due to an infection in his left knee that he injured back in 2015. But during the 2018 playoffs, the Boston Celtics still played at an unreal level, eventually making the conference finals led by their young stars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, along with Terry Rozier having himself a strong playoff run in the absence of Kyrie. They ultimately made it one game away from an NBA Finals appearance with their 2 star players missing from the lineup, but LeBron James prevented them from that finals berth. But with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward returning from injury in the 2018 to 2019 season, and with LeBron James heading out west to join the Los Angeles Lakers, the expectation was that the Boston Celtics would be the team making it to the NBA Finals out of the East. They were the favorite. Making it one game away from the NBA Finals without their best player and another All-Star in Hayward was all the justification needed for why this was the case. The Boston Celtics looked to be on the verge of greatness, and Kyrie was committed to the team.
You guys will have me back. I plan on re-signing here next year.
Boom!
So
Kyrie had the situation that he wanted all along, a contending team where he was the leader and he was the best player on the team, but he would be in for a rude awakening.
The Celtics are performing under expectations. They had an ugly road trip, and about their slow start, here's what Kyrie Irving had to say. Looking at this locker room, me being in my 8th year and being a veteran as well as Al and Baines, right now I think it would be nice if we had someone that was a 15-year vet.
My biggest storyline thus far is the Boston Celtics losing to Toronto and Orlando. I'm gonna monitor whether they look better with or without Kyrie Irving.
Words can't even explain it. It feels like deja vu all over again. Like you keep saying the same thing with every game. It's getting real annoying. I mean, I don't even know what to say to you guys at this point.
And what I think is interesting from the sound with Kyrie is essentially saying we didn't have the experience to know to give me the ball.
When I look at the team, what I see are guys who don't want to play with Kyrie. They play better when he's not on the court. Look at the numbers with and without Kyrie. Just Kyrie. The plus minus, it's a huge difference. The 0-6 to 6-0.
Has your mindset shifted though in regards to re-signing with Boston, like the announcement?
ask me July 1st. I had to call Bron, and tell him, I apologize for being that young player that wanted to everything at his fingertips, and I wanted everything to be at, my threshold. I wanted to be the guy that led us to championship. I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be all that.
The Boston Celtics season was a complete miss on their expectations, finishing with a 49-33 record and the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. Kyrie Irving had now come to realize how difficult leading a championship hopeful team really was, but like always, he remained confident heading into the playoffs.
It's starting to get to a point where there's concern the struggle you guys had over the beginning of the playoffs.
No, I'll be fine.
Why do you think that?
Because I'm here.
The Celtics' first round matchup would be against the Indiana Pacers, and this was a team that Boston would sweep, although each of the 4 games were fairly competitive. Kyrie averaged 22.5 points and 8 assists per game to lead the Celtics. In round 2, they would face a much more intimidating team, the first seed Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, the league MVP. But Boston shocked this Bucks team in game 1, a blowout win led by Irving with 26 points and 11 assists. They had started the postseason on fire with 5 straight wins, this one being the biggest statement of all.
I don't know where Milwaukee goes from here because
Whoa. So is this over?
No, listen, I think it's over.
But over the rest of the series, the Boston Celtics, and especially Kyrie Irving, were absolutely miserable. Kyrie was 4 of 18 in a blowout Game 2 loss where he scored just 9 points, followed by a 8 for 22 performance in a Game 3 loss.
It's really just about being efficient, especially the rest of the series. From this point on, I don't think you'll see another 8 for 22.
Kyrie followed this up with a 7 for 22 performance to fall down 3-1 in the series.
Have you ever had a shooting stretch like this? I think it's now at this point 19 for 62.
Yeah, who cares?
And in Game 5, a big elimination game, Kyrie delivered another poor performance, now shooting 6 for 21.
Brad Stevens tried to take the fall last night for his team, but Kyrie Irving deserves 100, make it 1,000% of the blame.
It's Kyrie Irving. The whole world knows this, and it's obvious, and the numbers back it up.
This year has been an atrocity for Kyrie. He asked to get away from LeBron James. He wants to have his own team. Well, there you go, Kai. You have your own team now. Now you have a chance to lead men. And for them to get booed out of their own arena last night, now we're going to talk about what kind of problem is Kyrie going to be in the offseason when he joins a different team. It's a different narrative now.
Kyrie didn't realize how great he had it.
I'm told that KD hasn't made his decision yet, etc. But it's really, really looking like KD and Durant are going to Brooklyn. I've been told it's not a foregone conclusion, that it's in KD's hands. Okay. Kyrie will go where KD wants to go.
And there are reports out there that he's, quote unquote, ghosting the Celtics, which basically means he ain't talking to anybody over there. He's not communicating with anyone over there.
Kyrie Irving's decision in 2019 was going to be very clear. He would be going wherever Kevin Durant was going, which would absolutely not be the Boston Celtics. The 2 most likely destinations were New York and Brooklyn, and eventually the decision was made.
Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that Kevin Durant is in fact headed to Brooklyn to join Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan.
After a disastrous experiment in Boston over the last season, Kyrie Irving was back to his role as the second option to one of the best players in the world, arguably the best in Kevin Durant. But with Durant's torn Achilles injury he suffered a month before in the finals, this would be a Kyrie-led team for his first year as a Brooklyn Net. In the new era of the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie Irving got off to a ridiculous start. He was having an unbelievable debut with a bunch of clutch shots to propel his team into overtime. 50 points in total on the game, and on the final possession he came so close to hitting a game winner. But just 10 games into the season, Kyrie began dealing with a shoulder injury. He went on to miss the next 26 games before returning in January, but after playing in 10 more games, Irving's season came to an end as he would need to get surgery on his persisting shoulder issue, which would end his season. Due to the 2020 pandemic, the NBA season would be pushed back and have a restart in the NBA bubble, but Irving did not support the idea of the bubble and he opted not to play. The next time that we would see Kyrie Irving, he would be playing alongside Kevin Durant. This is what we were all waiting for. And early on, they delivered on the hype blowout wins over both their former teams in the Warriors and the Celtics, with Kyrie hanging 37 points on Boston. But even with these 2 statement wins, Brooklyn began the season with an underwhelming 7-6 record, mainly due to Irving and Durant missing a combined 10 games, Irving being away from the team for personal issues for 2 weeks. But while Kyrie Irving was away from the team, there would be a move that would shock the entire landscape of the NBA. James Harden was now traded to the Brooklyn Nets.
The Nets have to make the finals.
The Brooklyn Nets are going to win a championship this year or next year.
They should not be the favorite. I don't see this working. You have 3 who at any given moment can go off, can bust. But Skip, I just don't see how it works without Kyrie and James Harden stepping on each other's toes.
The only one of those 3 guys who has proven to me he's not selfish and not a mean guy is KD. KD went to Golden State and he sacrificed. James Harden and Kyrie Irving have never shown me, like, no, I just want to win
That's the most important thing.
This was a very polarizing move. On paper, how could this team be stopped? They had the most talented offensive trio ever. For the first time, Kyrie Irving was now a third option on a team. But some worried that basketball isn't played on paper and that a trio of 3 ball-dominant players might fail to meet expectations. But over the course of the season, that wasn't really the problem in Brooklyn. It was the fact that these 3 only played 8 games together, with Durant missing a 23-game stretch lasting from February to April, and James Harden missing a 16-game stretch of his own from April to May. Health was the problem for Brooklyn, and they would need that more than anything in the postseason, which they would have to begin the first round against the Boston Celtics, Kyrie's former team, who was not happy to see him. With their big 3 healthy, the Brooklyn Nets took down this undermanned Boston roster in 5 games, Durant, Harden, and Irving combining for over 85 points per game in this series, and Kyrie showing the Celtics a sign of disrespect as this one was wrapped up. But just a single minute into the second round, now facing Milwaukee, Brooklyn's health had disappeared, with James Harden aggravating his hamstring. Regardless of this, Brooklyn maintained a 2-1 series lead heading into Game 4, and it was here where Kyrie Irving went down with an ankle injury in the second quarter. The only Brooklyn Net who could stay 100% here was Kevin Durant, who almost single-handedly dragged this team into the Eastern Conference Finals, but his heroic efforts wouldn't be enough to leave the Nets in a hobbled James Harden. Year 1 of this trio was a failure, but the question was, how great could they be if they remained healthy? But only more problems would arise in Brooklyn.
Many people here in New York are opting to walk away from their employer because they don't want to get the COVID vaccine. NBA star Kyrie Irving is now a part of that group. And with just 1 week to go until the start of the regular NBA season, it's unclear when he'll play at Barclays again.
Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving has been benched until he gets fully vaccinated for COVID. That means he will not be able to play. He won't be able to practice or travel with the team. And he's going to lose a whole lot of money until he gets the shot.
With New York's mandate of the COVID vaccine, it was expected that Kyrie Irving's refusal to get the vaccine would only keep him from playing in home games at the Barclays Center. But the Nets made a statement to put pressure on Irving, not allowing him to participate with the team in any games or any practices. They just did not let him participate at all. They thought that putting this pressure on Irving would lead to him getting the vaccine, making him a full-time player once again, but Irving continued to stand his ground. And he continued to stand on his ground until the Nets no longer could stand on theirs. After missing the first 35 games of the season, Irving played his first game on the road in Indiana on January 5th. Still, he would only be a part-time player that could only participate in away games. But after 1 month of part-time Kyrie and a Kevin Durant injury leading to a stretch of missed games for him, James Harden didn't want to put up with this Brooklyn experiment anymore.
I would want out. Dealing with what Brooklyn got going on, and the common denominator, the person who's right in the middle, we all know is Kyrie Irving. But I think Brooklyn, they have to trade James Harden.
And with time ticking down to the trade deadline, a move was made, sending James Harden to Philly, with Brooklyn getting Ben Simmons in return, a player that hadn't touched the court all season, which would continue to be the case in Brooklyn with his back injury. But in late March, finally some good news for the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving, as the New York mayor announced that the vaccine mandate would be lifted for professional athletes and performers, which of course included Kyrie Irving, who could now play in home games just in time for the postseason. And with Durant's return from injury, the duo that originally signed back in 2019 would finally have a chance to play alongside each other in the playoffs here. As the 7th seed, they would be facing the 2 seed Boston Celtics, who wanted to avenge their loss from the last season. But despite the seeding difference, many people thought that Kyrie and KD could pull off this upset and take down Kyrie's former team. This was a highly anticipated series. And in Game 1, it delivered, a closely contested game all the way through, where Kyrie Irving delivered 39 against his former team while hearing it from the Boston Celtics crowd. He continued to let them hear it right back, but Jason Tatum made the final statement of this game, getting past Irving for the game winner.
Do you feel like the hostility you get?
There's no hostility, bro. It's basketball.
When you were flicking some people off, I'd say that's some hostility.
Are you guessing that that's hostility, or like?
Well, we've never seen that from you this season, where you are running down the floor flicking people off.
This is the first time you actually caught it, because it's a big time game. I respond in different ways. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to focus on that. If you want to ask me questions about the fans, go ask them.
But Boston's fans were getting the last laugh here, as the Celtics took both games 2 and 3 to take a 3-0 series lead, Kyrie Irving struggling in both games. And with another unimpressive Game 4 performance, this series was over. The Brooklyn Nets swept in the first round for both Durant and Kyrie Irving, the first time that they had ever been swept in a series. And with this disastrous season coming to a disastrous end, an offseason of question marks was coming up.
The news is here. According to our Adrian Wojnarowski, Kevin Durant's manager, Rich Kleiman, has told him that Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets.
I think that it's the right move for Kevin Durant to make because being paired with Kyrie Irving has been nothing short of a migraine, and got to a point where he had to make a move because in the end, Kevin Durant was looking very, very bad. The fact of the matter is he followed Kyrie Irving to Brooklyn. He accepted a coach with zero experience coaching because that's what Kyrie wanted to do. You look at the situation that had appeared in Brooklyn, it was deteriorating, it had deteriorated, and once Kyrie Irving wasn't going to get a long-term commitment from the Brooklyn Nets without showing up to work next season, he clearly made it known to Kevin Durant that he had no intentions of being here, and Kevin Durant clearly made it known to him that, guess what, I'm about to ask out of here himself.
This has to go down as one of the most epic failures in the history of this league.
One playoff series win in 3 years.
Right before the start of free agency, Durant made it known he wanted out of Brooklyn. But as the offseason progressed, that trade never came. Even with Kyrie Irving, a move was never made. The Nets just weren't ready to break this thing up yet, and they entered the next season with Kyrie and KD still on the roster. But chaos in Brooklyn only continued, starting their season with a 2-6 record before Kyrie had to serve a 5-game suspension for the promotion of an anti-Semitic documentary on his Twitter account, setting the team back even more. If the Nets wanted any chance at keeping these two players around, they needed them available, and they needed to convince them that they could compete for a championship. But by February, nearing the trade deadline, it was clear that this whole experiment was over.
Check your watch, fellas. It is about that time. It's been too long for the Nets since they've had any drama, so ring it up. Here comes Kyrie right into the equation. He's entered the chat. Here's Chris Haynes tweeting earlier today, Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving has requested a trade.
This is Kyrie Irving, a guy that you cannot trust. Didn't Kyrie Irving just say that Kevin Durant is his best friend? Right? So where's the loyalty?
But the truth was that both of these guys wanted out. Kyrie Irving looking to get himself in a better situation, potentially in Los Angeles, to reunite with LeBron James. But the Nets' preferred package eventually came from the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving now teaming up with one of the best players in the world in Luka Doncic, while 2 days later, his former teammate Kevin Durant would be sent out to Phoenix. There was another failed tenure in the career of Kyrie Irving with Brooklyn, but Dallas was another opportunity to get back. But his first half season with Dallas did not go so well.
Dallas was in 4th place. Since then, 10-18 and vacation.
The day they traded for Kyrie, I said I thought it might work out for this year, but it will be one of the first parts of the story of why Luka's leaving Dallas.
The Dallas Mavericks are an absolute mess.
After having a 96% chance at making the playoffs before trading for Irving, the Mavericks missed out on the postseason and had a decision to make with Kyrie Irving in the offseason. And when that time came, Kyrie and the Mavericks both came to an agreement. He would be sticking around in Dallas, but they were hoping for a much better outcome next season. And year 2 of the Irving and Luka Doncic duo was a significant improvement as the Mavericks front office surrounded these two with better role players that complemented their play styles. They finished with the 5th seed in the West, locking in for a playoff matchup against the Clippers. In this series, Kyrie and Luka proved to be too much for the Clippers, taking them down in 6 games and then proceeding to take down the inexperienced OKC Thunder in 6 games, who were the 1st seed in the conference. Then in the Western Conference Finals, Dallas would face the Minnesota Timberwolves, who they dismantled in just 5 games with more of that unstoppable offensive firepower by Luka and Kyrie. Irving finding himself in the NBA Finals once again against familiar faces, a hostile environment expected once more in Boston. A hostile environment that Irving did not respond well to, having arguably the worst series of his NBA career in losing to the Celtics in 5 games. Once again, the Boston Celtics being the team to shut down the desires of Kyrie Irving. Early in his NBA career, Kyrie Irving wanted it all, but at the time he didn't know that he did have it all. After a failed tenure in Boston where he tried to be the man, and 2 more failed tenures in Brooklyn and Dallas trying to recreate what he once had, even Kyrie Irving has a regret for how it all played out.
If I was in the same maturity level I am now and understanding who I am, and I look back on that time then, we definitely would have won more championships together because there would have been a better man-to-man understanding about what I'm going through. I didn't know how to share my emotions. I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to do that. So instead of sharing, I isolated myself. I had one of my better seasons, but I wasn't connecting with everybody as much during our championship year. And we knew how much power we both had together. Me and him in the league together, running Cleveland, dominant, and then being able to put
a better team together every single year would have definitely been worth it.
It's said that you never really know what you have until you don't have that anymore, and that resonates with Kyrie Irving. But sometimes in the NBA, similar decisions do pay off. Unfortunately for Kyrie, one of those decisions eventually came at the expense of himself with the Boston Celtics. Check out this video to see a decision made over a decade ago that eventually led to Boston becoming the 2024 NBA champions.